Before we dive in to create UVs for our box, I want to show you the texture we're going to be putting on there. So I provided this texture for you guys inside of the work files folder. Another reason I chose to create this in Illustrator as opposed to the tried and true Photoshop, and let me go ahead and just get my layers out, is because I want to, they're down here, I want to be able to show you how you can compensate for adjustments. For example, the texture we're going to create is going to deliberately not fit the texture that I have here. So I can show you how you can bring that into Illustrator or an application like this, and you can move things over so that they can fit the textures that we're going to bring in. And what I mean by that is, let me go to the preview application. This little outline, this template here, is what I exported out of Cinema 4D based on the UV maps that I created. Now, if you didn't watch the project overview for this particular section of the course, a UV map is simply like taking a box, a cereal box, and opening it up so that it lies completely flat. And if you look at that cereal box that's flat, you'll notice that there's different textures and different words and stickers facing in different directions. This is the same thing here. And this will explain also why I have these arrows here and the word top, because you can actually mark up your UV map inside of Cinema 4D so that when you bring it into Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever application you want to use the texture, you'll always know what's what. So you could say front here, for example, back, side left, side right, bottom, and you'll know where to place those textures confidently. And when we bring those textures back into Cinema 4D, they will fit precisely on your object. But like I say, I always want to show you how to fix things as well. That's why we're going to do it in Illustrator, so I can show you how we can move things to match the outline we're going to bring in. I'm also going to show you a more practical method of doing it using a crate image that we're going to get from a search engine like Google. So we can go ahead and practice first on a simple crate so you can understand the concepts. UV maps are quite difficult to explain to people. That's why I like to use the analogy of a cereal box. Another analogy would be, you want to paint your walls in your house. So you have the paintbrush in your hand and you're painting the wall directly in front of you, but somehow the paint winds up on the wall behind you. Now that's an example of a 3D model that does not have UV maps on it. You see, that paint, that texture doesn't know where your wall corresponds to the geometry of your model. So when you're painting, let me go back to the other texture real fast. Let's say this is the wall in front of you and you're painting here and the texture shows up over here. A UV map tells the 3D object and the texture that this is the front. So if you do anything at all to this particular polygon, it will always show up here because the UV map has been created that says that this is the front. And this will always be the top. And you can be confident of that because it's totally mapped and locked down to that particular polygon. Without a UV map, you can paint all over the place, and you paint here in this corner, the paint shows up down here. And we'll actually experiment with that as well. All right, guys, so that's just a quick explanation of what we're going to be doing in the following lessons. And then we're going to actually paint the mountains, and we're going to put a UV map on the gum box. All right, so I will see you in the next lesson.